Let's begin with the big picture. Library makerspaces have transformed the way we think about libraries. They're no longer just quiet reading rooms or book repositories. They're creative laboratories where people learn by doing. When you walk into a makerspace today, you might see a child coding a robot, a student laser cutting a prototype, or a retiree learning 3D printing for the first time. The goal isn't just to provide access to tools, but to spark curiosity and encourage people to experiment, create, and share. These spaces embody the very heart of lifelong learning. They're hands-on, collaborative, and community-driven. In short, makerspaces help libraries evolve from places of passive consumption into active centers of creation and innovation. Recent research on makerspaces shows just how much these spaces have reshaped the library landscape. One of the strongest themes that keeps emerging is creativity through play. Makerspaces invite users to explore ideas through tinkering and discovery. They learn by experimenting, by trying, and yes, sometimes by failing. Another major theme is inclusion. We now recognize that not all users have equal access to technology or the same level of comfort with it, so inclusive design and accessibility are central to how makerspaces are built and operated. And finally, there's cultural transformation. Libraries are moving away from being just information providers to becoming facilitators of knowledge creation. This shift changes not just what libraries do, but how librarians see themselves as mentors, collaborators, and co-creators in a shared learning journey. The impact of library makerspaces extends far beyond the walls of the building. In academic libraries, these spaces promote interdisciplinary collaboration. You'll often find engineering students working alongside art majors or educators. The result is innovation that crosses traditional boundaries. In public libraries, makerspaces have become vital community hubs, supporting lifelong learning and civic engagement. They help people build skills, solve local problems, and connect with one another. Makerspaces are sometimes described as third places, not home, not work, but a creative middle ground where communities grow stronger. What's most powerful, though, is how they boost confidence. Whether someone is learning to solder, program, or sew, they're discovering new ways to express themselves and think critically about the world around them. When we look at learning outcomes, makerspaces consistently show evidence of growth in creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, and communication, what educators often call the 4 Cs. But the benefits don't stop there. Users report feeling more motivated, more self-confident, and more capable of tackling challenges. Many describe the process of making as transformative. They begin to see failure as part of learning rather than something to avoid. There's also a clear connection to digital literacy. Skills in 3D printing, coding, and fabrication translate directly to employability and technological fluency. And because makerspaces encourage diverse forms of participation, visual, tactile, collaborative, they engage learners who might struggle in traditional settings, making learning not only more accessible but more joyful. Now, one big question for librarians and educators is, how do we actually measure the impact of makerspaces? Traditional metrics like attendance or circulation don't tell the full story. Instead, libraries are using new frameworks, many developed through IMLS-funded projects, that assess not only what people learn, but how they grow. Surveys, focus groups, observation, and digital portfolios are being used to track progress and satisfaction. Some libraries even award digital badges to mark milestones in skill development. But perhaps the most interesting shift is the focus on what's called the maker mindset: curiosity, resilience, and a willingness to explore. In this sense, assessment becomes less about testing and more about storytelling, documenting transformation, creativity, and community connection over time. If we break down what makes a makerspace work, we see a few universal ingredients. There's the space itself, usually flexible and reconfigurable, filled with work tables, computers, and safe power access. There are tools and technologies, ranging from simple crafting materials to advanced fabrication devices. Then there's staff expertise, librarians trained not only to operate machines, but to mentor users through their creative process. Programming is another key piece. Structured workshops, open lab times, and themed maker events keep users engaged. And finally, there's the community culture: open, inclusive, and experimental. A successful makerspace isn't just about tools. It's about creating a space where people feel welcome to learn, share, and collaborate freely. Not every library starts with a six-figure budget, and that's perfectly fine. Makerspaces can be built at almost any scale. A low-budget makerspace, say between $500 and $5,000, might include craft supplies, basic hand tools, and entry-level electronics like Makey kits. Even these can inspire creativity and problem-solving. A medium budget, somewhere between $5,000 and $50,000, allows libraries to add 3D printers, laser cutters, vinyl machines, or sewing equipment, tools that open doors to STEAM programming. High budget makerspaces, often above $50,000, bring in industrial grade fabrication, robotics, or media production labs, usually found in universities or large urban libraries. The guiding principle isn't how much you spend, but how thoughtfully you align your investments with community needs and learning goals. So, where does the money come from? Most makerspaces rely on a blend of funding sources. Federal and state grants, especially from the Institute of Museum and Library Services, often jumpstart projects. Local governments and library foundations provide recurring support for operations. Partnerships with schools, universities, or tech companies can supply both funds and expertise. Many libraries also turn to Friends of the Library groups for grassroots fundraising. But sustainability is the real challenge. You can't build a makerspace on a one-time grant alone. That's why smart budgeting includes long-term planning for consumables, maintenance, and training. The best models treat the makerspace as an evolving ecosystem, one that grows and adapts with its community. Behind every successful makerspace is a team of well-trained facilitators. Librarians today are expected to know how to operate everything from 3D printers to sewing machines, but technical skill alone isn't enough. They also need to understand maker pedagogy, how to guide learning that's exploratory, hands-on, and user-driven. Training should also cover accessibility and inclusive practices so all patrons feel welcome. Many libraries now use online webinars, hands-on workshops, and peer learning networks to build staff confidence. In a way, staff training reflects the makerspace philosophy itself. It's ongoing, adaptive, and grounded in curiosity. The best facilitators are those who model lifelong learning, showing users that it's okay not to have all the answers, but to discover them together. Of course, setting up a makerspace isn't all smooth sailing. Libraries often face challenges with space, funding, and staffing. More importantly, they encounter cultural barriers, the perception that libraries should be quiet and traditional. Successfully integrating a makerspace means changing that narrative. It requires open communication, strong leadership, and alignment with the library's mission. Some libraries start small, using pilot programs to build momentum. Others partner with local schools or businesses to share resources. Over time, as staff and patrons see the value of active learning, the culture shifts naturally. The key lesson? Implementation isn't just about installing equipment. It's about cultivating a mindset of innovation and openness. Accessibility should never be an afterthought. It's a design philosophy. Makerspaces should be built with universal design principles, flexible layouts, adjustable height workstations, and clear, wide pathways that accommodate everyone. Visual and auditory accessibility are equally important. Good lighting, low noise, and tools reachable from different heights make a huge difference. Libraries should also include adaptive technologies like screen readers, magnifiers, or tactile materials. But accessibility goes beyond physical design. It's about programming too, offering activities that accommodate different learning styles and engaging people with disabilities in co-designing the space. When makerspaces are inclusive by design, they become truly democratic, open to all makers, regardless of ability. Let's bring these ideas to life with a few real examples. At the University of Calgary, the LabNext Makerspace integrates 3D printing, sewing, and virtual reality labs to promote cross-disciplinary collaboration. It's not unusual there to see art and engineering students brainstorming side by side. Another inspiring case is the Fayetteville Free Library, which created a mobile makerspace, a brilliant solution for communities that lack permanent facilities. These examples show that there's no single formula for success. What unites them is a culture of inclusion, staff mentorship, and flexible design. In both academic and public settings, makerspaces become more than just learning labs. They become community hubs for innovation and connection. Looking ahead, the makerspace movement is only going to expand and diversify. We're seeing new intersections with technologies like artificial intelligence, virtual and augmented reality, and even sustainable making. Think recycling-based fabrication or zero-waste labs. There's also a growing emphasis on equity and inclusion, ensuring that the maker movement serves all communities, not just the tech-savvy few. National networks are forming to share resources, research, and professional development. For libraries, the future means deeper integration of makerspaces into the core mission of lifelong learning. Ultimately, makerspaces are shaping the future of libraries, helping them evolve from repositories of information into launchpads of imagination.